a matchup between the Big 12 favorites as they were currently slated going into this game. Texas Tech goes to Utah, a tough place to play, and they easily get the job done. They win 34-10. Utah struggled offensively, had no answer for that Texas Tech defense. Texas Tech started kind of slow offensively, but ended up wearing on the Utah defense, and then they finally caved in, as well as Will Hammond comes in and replaces Morton and just deals. They looked like a different team when he came in, which is something we'll definitely discuss later. But thoughts on this game, guys?
Yeah, I think that one of the things we discussed was like the Utah offensive line versus that Texas Tech D line. Texas Tech holds Utah to 3.3 yards per carry. I think that was kind of a big part of it, and how the offensive line with Devon Dampier running the ball, he had 11 carries for 27 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. So that wasn't great. I think that was like my big thing. Not getting to watch the whole game was like looking at the box scores after. That was our big point, and how did that look? So that was impactful.
Yeah, I mean, Texas Tech's D-line kind of owned that from the jump. Even their linebackers, too. But they just didn't give Utah anything easy at all. So it's a great point, and it was my key matchup, and it played a huge part in this game. JP, what are you going to say?
What you're saying about Will Hammond and Morton and there being a conversation kind of surprises me. I think that's a little bit too early for that, but I guess we can table that conversation for later.
Sure.
Defensively, Texas Tech was unreal. I'm curious how they'll look against a true gunslinger, which they're going to play at some point. I'm pretty sure they have Baylor still on the schedule.
Yeah.
But in the Big 12, they're going to play a lot of gunslingers. I'm sure they'll play TCU and Josh Hoover. But Dampier, with his clear inability to throw the ball down the field, their pass rush ate him alive. Utah's drives, 3 and out, a turnover on downs, where they failed a 4th and 1. They apparently ran the same play they've run multiple times this season, where they brought in an extra O-lineman and handed off on the same side. It's according to Joel Klatt. Fumble, 3 and out. 2 third-down conversions, then it results in a punt. Interception. Missed field goal, saved by roughing the kicker, field goal made. 3 and out, punt. Touchdown, 3 and out, interception. They could not get anything going offensively for a Utah offense that was actually really, really good through 3 weeks, which is why I had them as high as 10th in the country. Texas Tech defense is for real. The pass rush is for real. Their DBs play well. They play physical. They play with confidence. Bryce Pollock plays physical. He plays with confidence. But like Jacob Rodriguez is truly dominant out there, and he has 11 total tackles in this game. I thought all the credit has to go to Texas Tech and their defense for how well they had played on the road.
100% agree.
And they weathered the storm. You lose your starting quarterback. Backup comes in, and then Will Hammond, actually, he played really, really well. He throws for 2 touchdowns. He brought a different element with rushing. They kind of put him in danger in a few spots, but that's kind of where his ability is, so it's not something you're not going to do. They just didn't really know who their other quarterback was, so it's hard to continue to run him as that game got later and later, because they just don't know who you're putting in as a backup. But Hammond was really, really good. Their running game was excellent. They run for 173, but they throw for 300 yards against this Utah defense on the road in front of a sold-out crowd, and I thought that was it. It was just, again, another dominant performance, wire to wire. It felt like just like this Indiana and Illinois game, but this one was on the road, and that's why I ended up putting Texas Tech higher than Indiana.
Sure.
They were just impressive. Cameron Dickey was the best running back of the day. His carries were huge. He has 2 touchdowns in the game. Just a ton of credit to Texas Tech and the Red Raiders. They so far are living up to the NIL budget that they have.
Yes. Okay, going back to the conversation we said we're going to table.
I'm welcome to have it here.
We're going to have it, because I'm confused. So
You think you should start Will Hammond?
I think they're going to start Morton,
Yes.
even though Hammond looked like the better QB in that game, but it's a game, and there's been a lot of hype around Morton and what he can do, and so they're going to start Morton again, assuming he's healthy. I'm not positive what his status is, but I was still very impressed with what I saw with him. Because, like I said, he was better QB in that game. But even myself, I think I have it in the notes because I wrote it like right after, like Hammond has to be the starter. But it's like it's just very reactionary, prisoner of the moment from one game when there's been a whole fall camp, summer camp, other games. So I wouldn't start Hammond going forward. I think it's going to be Morton. When I said conversation later, I just meant like just talking about the QBs in general, not talking about Hammond starting over Morton.
Understood. I would start Morton, and I'd start him if he's healthy or if he's even slightly banged up. I would introduce Will Hammond packages with his ability to run. Kind of makes no sense for him to not be a part of the offense in that way. I think of Bo Perbula last year with Penn State coming in there for running packages, obvious running downs. But Morton is the better quarterback. He had 11 touchdowns, 1 interception coming into the game. That he kind of leads the drive to start the game where they end up getting the touchdown. He gets hurt, and it didn't help him, and he gets fully knocked out of the game. One of his interceptions is just a deflection off his own receiver's hands, not really his fault. But I think he's the best quarterback, and with Will Hammond in the game, it felt like, at least watching them, that they kind of lost their explosive passing game down the field. And that's the best part of their offense, in my opinion, is their ability to throw the ball down the field.
Sure.
And while Hammond's numbers ends up being better and they actually look quite good on paper, I thought watching it that they were a completely different offense. I didn't think they were as explosive as they had been in the weeks prior.
Yeah. Well, and once again, I said I think Utah's defense just kind of was wore down by that point.
Yeah.
They were kind of ready to give in when he took over and really started to cook late in the game. Tucker says he does think Morton will start, but if it starts to get hairy, I wouldn't be surprised to see them go to Hammond pretty quick. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think they like to know that they have a guy that they can put in and have success with in a big game. Like, that's got to be a good comfort to them. I just checked. Morton's not expected to miss any time. He was held out, with concussion-like symptoms, but there seemed to be no real issue. And they have a bye. And then they have the big test the week after, October 4th. They play Houston.
Huge.
At Houston, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get a bigger matchup than that in the Big 12. But he should be good to go, and yeah, he'll start. But big win for Texas Tech. I loved what I saw. You can't hate that.
It's their toughest game remaining, too, at least the way it looks right now. With the way Kansas State has kind of fallen off a cliff,
Yep.
and they have to go to Manhattan. They also go to Arizona State, so that's arguably a tough test. But I think the Utah test would be tougher, in my opinion. They don't play Baylor. They don't play TCU. So everything's right there in front of them. Them making the Big 12 title game is, it feels like it would be a failure.
100% agree.
Honestly, if they didn't at this point in the season.
Because you cleared your biggest test, and you aced your biggest test.
Mm-hmm.
You won by 24 on the road at Utah, and fought through adversity of early turnovers and having to play your backup QB.
Yes.
You can't be. There's not really a result you can be happier with if you're a Texas Tech fan than what happened on Saturday.
Turnover fest, too.
It led to a very glorious and hectic start to the game because every time you looked, it was a peanut punch or a pick because there was a forced pass or something like that. And then it settled in. So we kind of got the best of both worlds in terms of the chaos of college football
Yes.
and then actually good football down the stretch. So really can't be mad.